Hey ExJW, thanks again for stopping by. If you're new to the channel, my name is Riley and I used to be a Jehovah's Witness. Today I'm interviewing Daniel Jarrell. Daniel is a former Jehovah's Witness who converted into the religion in his late teens, but only recently woke up and left the organization. Hi Daniel, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for reaching out to me. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been looking forward to it all week.
Good. Right. So, tell us about yourself. Tell us about your history with the organization, how you became a Jehovah's Witness, and how you ultimately left.
Well, so it started. I was in just a small town in Southern Oregon, and was in my last year of high school. I know I had gotten out of high school. I was getting ready to go to college for medical, and I had gotten to a point where I was just feeling that emptiness that everyone gets to at a certain point. And I had started looking around for that purpose, that sense of purpose that I had was asking myself, what was the point of all of this? What was my life supposed to be about? What was driving me? And I didn't have an answer for it. And one of the things that I'd love to do is I'd go out to just trekking in the woods and just stay out there for the day and just think. I'm one of those people. And I had decided that maybe I should really look into the religion thing. That maybe that was something that could drive me. And I started going to different churches and researching different beliefs in those kind of things. And I was a goth kid. So I would purposely walk into places dressed like Marilyn Manson because I wanted to see what people's reactions would be. And I asked challenging questions. I had gotten kicked out of two different churches for being possessed, so that was an interesting an interesting experience. But I had family that were Jehovah's Witnesses, some extended family, and I had talked to them just how I'm looking around. I'm not finding much. I'm not sure. I'm starting to get frustrated. I don't really think there's anything out there. And they had suggested that I had go to a Kingdom Hall meeting, and I was all right, fine. I guess I can try these out. And I was a very lonely person. I mean, that kind of goes with the goth kid thing, but I didn't have any friends. I never had a father figure, any of those things. So I had some pretty big emotional wounds. And you tie that up with a love bombing of being a new person walking into Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall and having all that flood on you at once. It worked. It is one of the most intense experiences that I ever had in my life because it felt entirely genuine, and it captured me. That these guys, they got something. I can't put my finger on it. Well, he just got love bombed for an hour. That tends to do that. But I decided that I was gonna make a go of this. I don't wade into things. I don't try things out. Either we do it or we don't do it. It's one or the other, on or off. So I decided, here we go. I'm gonna do this, and I just jumped right into it. I started going in and doing all these things, and I started to build relationships. And the biggest relationship that I would find is I found a man that I had attached myself to like my father. And that led me to get baptized within a year, which that can be kind of standard, but that takes some serious dedication. I had to do some serious proving, considering that I had a family member that was a Jehovah's Witness, but then she had left, and um, she had just walked out, and my family had a stain on us because of that. Um, and I had actually brought that up to an elder, and that caused some drama for a little while. But eventually, I got baptized, and I loved it. And it wasn't so much the information; I loved the community. That I felt like that I had found a place where I kind of belonged. But then, cracks start to form when the first crack started to form because I wasn't making super serious changes. Like I wasn't wearing makeup anymore, and I had cut my hair the way you're supposed to, and I was really working on putting on the new personality. That was a very big challenge for me. But it was stuff that I did. One of the most painful memories that I have is taking all of my CDs, because I'm that old. I get to say that I'm that old now, where all of my music was on CDs. All the gray hair isn't there for nothing. And I had taken them in the backyard, and I had to smash them with a hammer. That was me getting rid of all those things. And I remember each one of those shattered CDs being utterly painful.
Yeah. I know exactly how you feel on that one because I did a similar thing, but I'm even older than you, so for me it was cassettes.
Oh, cassettes. Hey, some of the good ones are still on cassettes. I love cassettes.
I had a big bag of cassettes, all of my favorite 90s hip hop, and I didn't smash them, but I gave them away to a worldly acquaintance.
Yeah, it hurts. Yeah, so one of the things that had helped started very, very beginning starting cracks is the newness wore off. I wasn't the new toy anymore. So people wouldn't like invite me out to go out in service, because that I realized that became a big thing. Oh, someone's inviting you out in service. Oh, that means they want to hang with you. That's their version of doing this. And there was a group of 4 of us, all guys, and we were all around the same age. So we started hanging out together, and just very slowly, like I said, you're not the new toy anymore. So you start fading in, and I always had a very hard time with abandonment. I mean, I'm an only child without a father figure. That's kind of standard. But that really weighed upon me. But I had this father figure, so that kind of equaled everything out. But as I was going through and reading the information very slowly, because when the information is told, at least in my mind, I am diagnosed bipolar and ADHD. When something is said 50,000 times in basically the same way with just minor changes, my mind starts to it gets so incredibly boring that things that clearly is not the point of what Jehovah's Witness should be taking in starts to stick out. So certain phrases, like being told that sometimes it's good just to turn your mind off and just listen to the information. That was one that felt like it hit me weird. Like, that's a really weird way to say that. But immediately you take that thought and you put it in the box. Put it in the box, bury it away. Like, nope, that's an evil Satan thought, right? That's Satan trying to get into your mind. So you bury it off. And then there was another Watchtower article I remember reading. And the Watchtower article was talking about that when the governing body is telling us to do something, it may not make immediate sense. It might be completely contrary to what our rational mind would think to, or how our rational mind might think to respond. But we need to do what the governing body says immediately, because later it will make sense. And that one genuinely scared me. I remember that hitting and thinking like, I don't think I would have worded it that way. Because the first thing that I thought was Jamestown. Like, they're going to tell us to do something and we're not going to think about it. But again, take that thought, put it in the box, bury it in the back of your mind. Don't even worry about that. And I think what really got the process of me questioning going was Toni Morris. Like, just listen to the man speak. Just listen to him. This was right before they started getting us more open with the governing body members and showing their faces. I had decided that I was going to come out as being gay, and I knew that that was going to be a huge issue. I knew that that would affect things, but again, it either is or is not. And I'm not wasting my life trying to put on a mask and pretend to be somebody completely different. And it's like, no, this is how this is. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to do it the way you guys want to do it. I'm not going to engage with that part of myself in any way, shape, or form. I'm not going to discuss it in front of anyone, but, here it is. And that damaged relationships more than anything else I could have done. Immediately, any friendships I had, they dissolved. Like overnight, they dissolved. The only people that would talk to me was that that one member that had taken me on to where I viewed him like a father, and elders that were checking up. But other than that, it just all stopped, and that was so incredibly uncomfortable. And it's like, guys, I'm not hitting on any of you. I'm not doing that. We're just hanging out. Like nothing changed.
And that was the case, even though you made it clear that you weren't going to engage with that side of yourself. You weren't going to. You would be. I think the term is an NPG, a non-practicing gay. Mm-hmm. So even though that was the case with you, they still decided to soft shun you, so to speak.
100%.
Wow.
And then the sad thing, I started to learn very slowly. There was almost an underground of gay witnesses. I knew of 3 others, and it's like, sorry, I can spot it, yo. You're like, you can't hide it from me. I can see it. And it was one of those things like, no, you're right. You will not speak about this to anyone else.
Wow.
And it was like, this is getting really uncomfortable. Like I wasn't expecting this. Like I thought this was going to be like, oh no, it's fine. And then you let it go because you're only supposed to be an issue if you engage. So everything's fine, right? Yeah, no, that's not how that worked at all.
Wow.
But there was a part of me that expected that, because it's like being gay and religion, they've never really been really close friends. So I wasn't expecting there to be a huge party. So in the meantime, with all of this stuff that was going on, and with the literature, all of that, then they bring out Toni Morris, and he does his now infamous little tight pants speech. And I remember where I was sitting at the Kingdom Hall when we were tied into that and listening to that man say that. And it was everything that I could do to not get up and walk out. I was so incredibly frustrated. I remember because I was sitting next to my adoptive father, and I remember him leaning over and telling me like, hey, you need to calm down because your face is red. Your fists are clenched. Like, you need to calm down because you act like you're going to be making a scene. I remember turning to him like, yeah, but what is this garbage that he's spouting? Like, this is nonsense. Like, you don't believe this, do you? And he's like, well, he does have a point. And I remember thinking like, oh, wait a minute. Oh my God. Everyone just sucked this down and thinks it's truth. And that was the exact moment that I was like, uh-oh. Am I in a place I shouldn't be? But again, it's that thought. You put it in the box and bury it in the backyard. Like you can't think too hard about it because of everything that might happen. And the final straw came with a friend that I had. He was a lonely guy. He was like maybe 22. I was 30, 31 at the time, but he was just lonely, didn't have very many friends. And my adoptive father kind of got us together where we were going to just meet each other, maybe, play a few games, hang out for a bit. And we hit it off. I absolutely adored him, and not in a romantic way, but he was like a little brother to me. Like, we absolutely loved spending time with each other. And he was one that when I told him that I was gay, he was like, okay, that's cool. It meant absolutely nothing to him. And that was utterly amazing to me. I loved it. A couple of the friends that he had, of course, these are all witness friends. Like when I'm talking about people and friends, like any other witnesses, no, there's no such thing as anyone else. It's just the witnesses. But we had, we would get together on games like Ark Survival Evolved, these multiplayer games that you can play online. But one of them was a ministerial servant, so like a deacon, right? So he's being held up to this standard that he's what you should be aspiring to. Like he's an example of what other people our age should be moving towards. So he was a regular pioneer. He was doing the 50 hours a week. He was only working a part-time job, still living at home. So he's doing the whole good witness thing. And that was some of the happiest times of my life at that point, as I felt like I had finally found my tribe within these people that I was starting to feel confused about. I had prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed, and wouldn't you know it, God answered it. He gave me all these people, and that really affirmed my faith. And that was some of the most work that I had done with the witnesses. I wasn't a regular pioneer, but every 3 months or so I would pioneer at the 50 hours a month, just because I felt like I needed to give back, that I had been given this gift that I had asked for. So I needed to do something in return. And eventually my friend, he had wanted to get married. Like, getting into a romantic relationship is what I wanted and what he had wanted. And we kind of had bonded over that as well. Just that we were just a couple of lonely people. And he ended up finding this girl, right? Tale is as old as time. The problem is that she was 10 years his senior. Now, I don't care, as long as you people actually care about each other. Like, dude, I don't care if there's a 10-year difference. Nothing to me. But the congregation did not like that, and they made that known. So when Jehovah's Witnesses, when they're dating, there has to be a chaperone. No one would chaperone them, and that was the way of the congregation letting them know, we don't approve of this. We're not going to chaperone you.
That is absolutely terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And what business is it of theirs that what their age difference is?
Well, in their mind, it's that, oh, well, this is inappropriate, right? You're 10 years older, so we're not going to tell you you can't, because it would be wrong for us to tell you we can't. We're just going to, cut off any way where you two can actually see each other.
Oh my goodness.
Now, see, that's the reaction I had. Is like, that's absolute garbage. Like, that is truly awful. So I told him, hey, I'm of that age. I'll chaperone you too. And so that's what I did. And we that really helped. I really liked her. She was a smart, caring person, and I think she had done some really good things for him. And eventually he had proposed. They hadn't known each other for more than 2 months before he proposed to her, and she accepted. And once again, that may not be how I would have done things, but it's none of my business. It might be one of those things to know when you find that person and you just click, and you guys know it. And for witnesses, since there's a whole bunch of things you can't do before marriage, that kind of makes people move a little bit faster. But again, it's none of my business. So I was all for it. Like, go for it, yeah. And he had asked me to be his best man. I was like, absolutely, no question whatsoever. And the congregation didn't appreciate that either. But that point, there wasn't much that they could do other than the one thing he told me. And I remember him being infuriated about this, that the elders of his congregation had met with him, and the elders from her congregation had met with her and tried to talk them out of getting married so soon. And like, that you guys, maybe you really shouldn't be in this relationship at all because there's so much of a difference. And I remember being like, okay, I support the witnesses and I think this is God's organization and all of that. That's utter garbage. I would explode if the elders tried to meet with me and tell me that, hey, you can't do this. You can't do this. I'd be like, really? Watch me. Watch me. Now I'm going to do it specifically because you told me I can't. Watch me do this with no scriptural backing whatsoever. Yeah, I don't care what your opinion is.
Can I just ask, how old was he at this time?
He was 22.
Right, okay. So this is the thing. 10 years is a lot if one person is 20 and the other person is 10, right? But when you're both adults, 10 years is nothing really.
No, and it happens. It happens quite a lot. I have a family member. Actually, it was the one that was disfellowshipped, and she married someone who is 27 years her senior. And it's like, yeah, it happens. It's as big of a deal as you decide to make it. So it doesn't need to be anything serious.
Exactly. I mean, 22 is young to get married, but it's typical for a Jehovah's Witness. I wouldn't advise somebody to get married that young, but not because of an age difference, just because 22 is young. But the age difference thing, I mean, and this congregation sounds awful, to be honest. It really, really sounds bad. They get involved in things that have nothing to do with them, and they just, all congregations have a different spirit. Some are worse than others, but from what I've heard so far about this congregation, it's like, no, I would not have wanted to be there.
No, they were known for being strict. That was something they were known for, that they would hold, and that was almost said with pride, like, we're strict. These other congregations that are closer to the cities, closer to Portland, Oregon, closer to those bigger cities, they're allowing all this worldly stuff in, but we won't do that. We're going to be the example. Wow. I was like, oh, that's kind of gross. Aren't we supposed to be doing this together?
Yeah. Okay, so what happened next?
So to this day, I genuinely don't know what had changed, but our relationship had exploded overnight. He had become absolutely infuriated with me and had told me he did not want me at his wedding. And it was just genuinely, I have no idea what caused this, but just overnight he had said, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm really frustrated with you, and I think it's best if we're not friends anymore. And I had tried to reach out to him and ask him what was going on. Like, what happened? What happened? And I never got a response. And this sounds like I'm totally making this up. I am not. To this day, I have no idea what had happened. And to me, that was the last straw. And I was like, okay, with everything that has happened so far, and this is supposed to be like, God is picking out the best people who can be witnesses, no one else, which I had always had a problem with. And with all of that, I had decided that, okay, if I'm going to stay in this, and I know that I'm going to do this, and I'm going to dedicate my life completely, and I'm going to be doing it alone, I want to know if this is really true or not. I'm going to dig up that box with those questions, and I'm going to keep looking until I get answers. And the first thing that I had done is I had heard of the book Crisis of Conscience. And I mean, that's kind of exiting Jehovah's Witnesses 101. And I decided to read that book. At this time, I had also started going to school to be a certified clinical medical assistant. And I had gotten pulled into a conversation with two other elders, and they counseled me. Like, I got in trouble. I didn't get reproved, but I got in trouble because I was engaging in higher education, and that's something you're not supposed to do. And it's like, well, but this is a certification course. It's not like I'm going to a 4-year college. Well, yeah, but if you have time for that, you have time to go out in the ministry. So I just kept pushing through it. And I started reading Crisis of Conscience, and I remember like reading it at night and being nervous, just so nervous, because I was so afraid of what I was going to find. In the midst of this, I had also gotten pulled into a judicial committee because I was doing something that the witnesses don't approve of. And it was regarding my homosexuality, and they had brought out one of their books. That's the Young People Ask book, so it's directed at teenagers. I'm 30 years old, by the way. And they opened this book and turn it around and slide it over to me, and they say that, hey, if you read this chapter, you might find that you're just confused, and maybe you can choose against this. And I will never forget that. And I made sure just to sit there and stare at this elder and make it as uncomfortable as I possibly could. It was like silence for like 3 solid minutes of nothing but silence. It was so awful and disgusting. But as I'm reading through Crisis of Conscience, and I'm get to the part where there's differences in how things are being held up that should be at the same standard, and that wasn't as earth-shattering to me as I think it was for other people, because I still got a foot in, right? So I'm reading it and I'm like, well, this may be a miscommunication. Maybe this is just a miscommunication. And then I had heard of the website JW Facts. I had been directly told that was a website to stay away from, like told about that website specifically, that make sure you go to jw.org, not JW Facts, because those they're close, but you got to stay away from this one because it's full of misinformation.
Wow, that's the first time I've heard of someone directly being warned away from that website from someone in the religion.
Yeah, and actually I thank him for saying that, because I would not have. I mean, I'm sure eventually I would have learned about JW Facts, but that helped me get started. Like, okay, I'm gonna go straight there. let's see what this is. And it was like, okay, we're just gonna pick a point. Let's just look at here and see what kind of point we find. And the point that I had found was on 1914 and how it had come about, and how there were numbers that had been changed, and the big one was on there being no year zero. In my mind, I'm thinking like, wow, this website is big about this no year zero, and the witnesses are just pushing this date back. I'm like, I don't know if I believe this. I mean, this is supposed to be apostate stuff, so they're specifically trying to tear down Jehovah's Witnesses, so I don't know about this. And it had the source cited that was from the Revelation Grand Climax at Hand, I think is the name of the book. And I had that book. I'm okay, let's see what this really says. And I pulled down that book and I opened to the page, and there in the footnote, it just says in black and white, hey, we took this year, we pushed it back a year since there's no year zero, just so 1914 holds firm. That was the earth-shattering moment for me. Was that, wait a minute, what? You just arbitrarily did that? But then the numbers aren't right. But whoa, wait a minute. Okay. Nope, that didn't make any sense. And like that started to get me going. And I had heard about something called the Australian Royal Commission. And it's like, okay, well, what is this? And it was the court case with BCG and some of the horrific stuff that had happened to her and her experience. And I had found this playlist that went through the entire thing. I think it was like 30 to 33 hours long, something like that. And I binge watched it. Like, we're going to sit down, and I don't want highlights. I don't want people's interpretation of it. I want to hear everything for myself. And as I am listening to this, I don't think that I have cried more in my life than I did in the week that I was watching that. Literally watching your whole worldview, everything you believe. Like, if the Jehovah's Witness told me that it was time for me to do it Jamestown, I would have done it without question, with a smile on my face, believing that I would be going straight to God, like, without question. And hearing these things, it just shattered my worldview. Everything I believed just shattered apart. It was so incredibly intense.
I know exactly how you feel. I went through a similar experience when I started waking up and I started researching things, and particularly when I found out things that upset and disturbed me. It was very, very painful. And I remember, spending days crying over certain things. And interestingly, I was having a conversation on, I think it was TikTok, with somebody who commented on one of my videos. And they made a good point, to be fair. They said that sometimes because of our emotions, we justify, we use our emotions to justify our actions, or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I thought that's a fair point, because as logical as we like to think we are driven by our emotions a lot more than we realize or care to admit. So I said, yeah, that is a fair point. But in my case, when I found out that the religion wasn't the truth, I wasn't doing that, because if I was following my emotions and allowing my emotions to cloud my reasoning, I would have stayed in.
Far easier.
It wouldn't have pushed me out. My emotions weren't leading me to go out. My emotions were leading me to stay in and to delude myself into thinking that it was all still true. Because losing your worldview, losing how you make sense of the world, is no easy thing. Oh. It's like wiping the slate clean, and you're starting from zero as an adult. That's not something that you would choose to do because your emotions want you to do that. If anything, your emotions want you to hold on to your worldview and hold on to it for dear life, because that's how you make sense of everything.
Yeah, 100%. And it's far easier. It's far easier for someone to sit down and tell you that, hey, we're going to give you all these rules. You need to follow these. This is how this is going to happen. And the whole wondering what everything is about, we're going to give you your reason. Here's your reason for existing. What's going to happen at the end? That's all going to be taken care of. All the horrific things that happen on a daily basis, there's a reason for it. Here's the reason. We even have a solution. Here's a solution. And it feels good to have all of those answers splayed out in front of you. Yeah. And then when you realize that all of it it's not there. It's not true. And then to not only that, but then to think, wait a minute, I have people that I love more than the sun rising in the east, and they are stuck in this. Oh no, what now? Because now you feel like there was a post, because Reddit, the ExJW Reddit is the first thing they had gotten onto and started talking to people. And there was someone that had put in there that it felt like being unplugged from the Matrix, and you sit up and there's nothing but black coffins around you, and you're the only one sitting up, and you see what the world is really like. And that's exactly what that moment feels like. And you have people like, I had helped my immediate family to start studying with the Jehovah's Witnesses. And it's like, what have I done?
Yeah.
What have I done?
Yeah.
How am I going to undo this? What do I do? It was so incredibly intense, and it took a while for that to simmer back down, for me to get an idea of what I needed to do next. But watching that whole thing, I only remember being angry, like genuinely, like throwing something against the wall, angry, at the very, very end, when they have the governing body member up and they're actually interviewing him, and then to see the minutes of the meetings where they're trying to get him to come in and he's giving nothing but excuses. And in my mind, I'm like, well, that's not what Paul did. That's not what they did. They strolled right in, like, okay, you guys want to talk to us? Okay, talk to me. What do you want? I'll tell you anything you want to know. It's like, and then this is the guy who's supposed to have the direct line to God, and he's running away. Like, God's given you a perfect opportunity to stand right in front of the Australian Royal Commission and make a witness. Like, dude, take advantage of this. Look at the good you could do, and you're running away. And then hearing, like, I remember like cutting this video down and just hearing this, like this little segment playing over and over and over, but having a governing body member say that, well, we think that it's rather presumptuous to think that we're the only ones that have a direct line to God. Oh, say that again into the good ear, because I don't think I heard you right. Like, say that again. And that, yeah, all of it just shattering apart. And it was, I remember sitting in my room and sitting in my chair and like, okay, that's it. There's no way that I can support this organization. There's no way I can fake this. There's no way that I can pretend to be a witness. Like, I'm out. That's it. And to be fair, like, especially when I got on the ExJW Reddit and started reading people's stories, I realized that I have a very, very privileged story. I am not married with 3 kids and all of us are dedicated witnesses, and then I wake up and then what do I do with the rest of my family? I'm not in that situation. So I knew that there would be family members that would leave, but I had already kind of gotten to the point where I didn't have a social circle. I didn't have any friends, so I wasn't really losing very much. And I would dress in certain ways that I would wear, like I would have a wallet chain. I got counseled about having a wallet chain. I started wearing my hair the way that it is now. I would shave the sides and leave my top long because I loved the Hollywood, kind of portrayal of Vikings. I always liked that. I thought it was really cool. And I started wearing a mustache that I would twirl into a handlebar. I got counseled about that too, that my handlebar was too long, that your mustache needs to stop at the corner of your mouth. Anything more than that, and I got counseled for it.
No way.
I absolutely promise you, yes.
It sounds like they were looking for things to counsel you for.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And eventually I'd gotten to the point where it's okay, like, come at me. I don't care. Like, I don't care. There's nothing, like, the armor, I called it my armor, that my armor's on, that there's nothing you could say that could hurt me, because now I'm not open to you anymore. I've shut off. The armor's up. And yeah, that was a hard, that was a rough time. I'm glad I did it though.
Hey, TTATT, thanks again for stopping by. I just want to quickly let you know about a protest that is taking place this year on October 31st in Washington, D.C. The aim of the protest is to expose the harmful practices of shunning in the Jehovah's Witness religion, as well as the widespread cover-up of child sexual abuse. The permit for the protest has been approved and it will be taking place at the White House. The organizer of the protest has set up a website called BeFree2023.com. So please head over to that website for all relevant information. And I'm going to place a link to that website in the description of all of my videos from today until the day of the protest. If you're in or around the Washington, D.C. area, it would be great if you could attend the protest. We really need your support.
Because when I decided that okay, I can't do this anymore, it's like, okay, what do I do? And I had already had a marking talk because of the way I had my hair and those kind of things. And I wasn't at the meeting. I was tied in and listening to it over the phone when I heard that marking talk, and it made me laugh, because again, in my mind, I'm already out. Like, I'm done with this. So when I was hearing it, it made me laugh. Like, oh, you guys are being a little cheeky, aren't you? Yeah, boy, you guys aren't being subtle. You're doing everything but say my name. Everyone knows exactly who you're talking about.
Did they tell you beforehand that there was going to be a marking talk, or was it a complete surprise?
Complete surprise. It just sort of happened. I wasn't shocked though. Again, when I was looking at the Reddit and they were talking about this marking talk, I'm like, what the heck is a marking talk? What are you guys talking about? And there was a link to a video, and I believe it was from The Truth Hurts, I think is what video it was. But they showed a copy of a recording of a marking talk, and I'm like, okay, so I should be expecting one of those. Got it. So that's why I tied into the meetings, because I was looking for it. and I ended up hearing it, and I'm like, oh, you guys, that's kind of sneaky. and it made me laugh. But the next at least emotional process that I started going through is I felt a lot of shame and self-hatred that I had let myself get into this position. Like, dude, you let yourself get whipped into all of this. How stupid are you? 12 years of your life down the toilet. Like you wasted all of this stuff you could have been doing, and you wasted all of it. And that was that I knew that was too powerful for me to handle on my own. So I knew I would want to seek out some professional therapy to help deal with those kind of things. At this point, I had gone through my medical school, and I had been certified, and I had gotten a job at an urgent care as a CCMA. I'm also a phlebotomist at that time. And so I was doing all of that. And we had access to being in an urgent care. They give us access to mental health services because some of the stuff that we run into. And I took advantage of that. And that is something that I think anyone exiting should, at the very minimum, at least consider it. Because this stuff, it takes 12 years, or at least for me, 12 years of my life is dedicated to this. And I'm unraveling all of that. And like, can you do it by yourself? I'm sure there's certain people that can, but it is always going to be easier if you have someone that can, help guide you through this process. Because so many things happen all at once. Your view of what the world means is gone. You don't know what you're here for. What's the purpose of you being here? Now that's up to you to decide. Why are you here? You've got to find that now. Well, how do I get started in that? What about a social circle? That is completely gone. And there are still parts of me that are broken because of what that 12 years meant. There's still pieces that are broken. There's, especially when it comes to social situations and social communication, I to this day struggle big time. Like going out and getting groceries, that is a very, very difficult thing for me. And if going out and doing that takes more than 30 minutes, I need a day to prepare for it. Because when I'm in those kind of situations, there's still that when you start feeling it in your chest, that all of these people are around you, and you get that feeling in your chest, like I'm having trouble breathing. Like there's some serious stuff that can come out of this, but when you can get some professional help, if nothing else, it can just make it a little bit easier. And I think that's really important. Again, I know some people might be able to do it on their own. It really helped me. And so that became the next big thing was where do I go from here? How do I begin the healing process? And then there was a lot of anger at the organization. I found what really helped me was just to keep. I wanted information. I functioned way better if I have more information. Some of the experiences that I had read on Reddit is some people just felt better if they just took it, dropped it, and then just kept moving forward and didn't look back. And I didn't know if there was something that I wanted to do, if there was like an activist thing. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I just wanted to take in information. And one of the very first people I started watching was you. I started watching your videos. I started watching the Lloyd Evans channel, the Falling Tower, Truth Hurts, the Telltale channel. So that really made me feel good, because the first thing you feel utterly alone, like completely alone. That all this happened. I don't know what to do. And listening to other people that have gone through it and are, at least from the point of coming out of it, I felt very weak. And seeing these people, it's like, oh, these are really strong folks. Like they've gone and they're doing all of this and they're making stuff happen. So there is life after being a witness. Okay. All right. So we can get through this. And I really dived into my career. That was the thing, because then I had all this time. I want to fill all this time up with something. And I put all of that into my career. And now I moved out of that town, which also helped, but I'm in a position where I can do that. I moved 3 hours away. And instead of working in a clinic, I now supervise the clinic. And my life is better than it ever could have been. And the company that I work for knows that I was involved with a particular organization that was very high control, and left it. And they had asked me, like, so 12 years of your life was given to this. Like, what do you feel about that? And this might be something you may not hear most people say, but if I had the choice to do all of that again, I 100% would do it again. And the reason why I say that I would go through all of that again, even if I knew all the pain that was going to be there at the end of that road, and I would do it again, is I have infinitely more self-confidence and trust in myself now that I've gone through it, because my mind saw it. I saw it, but I stuffed it down and buried it away. You questioned yourself. You saw it, but you questioned it and you buried it away. And it's like, from now on, if your mind picks up on something, you examine it immediately. Drop everything and examine it. Don't bury those thoughts ever again.
Yeah. That, in my opinion, that's one of the worst things that the organization does, is teaching you to question your own instincts. Not even question your own instincts, to suppress your own instincts. And that is just really, really bad, in my opinion.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
absolutely. But it's, like I said, it taught me to trust myself, and that the shame that I had for getting myself wrapped up into that situation with the witnesses, like, oh my gosh, I was so foolish for getting wrapped in. That then turned later. I mean, granted, it took some time, but that it later turned into confidence that, yeah, you got yourself wrapped up into it. But under those kind of circumstances, you allowed yourself to question, even when the threat, because when you're disfellowshipped, I mean, you can talk around it all you want, but if you get disfellowshipped and Armageddon happens, you're toast. There is no God's going to read your heart. The Bible never says anything about that. So if you're gone, like, that's it. So there is a genuine expectation and threat of death that comes along with that. And I had a lot of pride in myself that even under those circumstances, you still allowed yourself to question. And that I then project onto all of these people that have come out of being a Jehovah's Witness, that you went through it, but I think you should be really proud that you allowed yourself to question under those kind of circumstances, and you still let yourself question with an entire organization that has been training you for years to not do it and telling you all the consequences that's going to happen if you do, but you still did. And I think that's one of those genuine human moments that make me proud of other people that have come out of it, that you did it, but you allowed yourself to question. Like, that is so cool. You allowed yourself to do that.
It takes a huge amount of bravery, because looking at quote unquote apostate information is like crossing the Rubicon. It's the final frontier. You do that and there is no going back. That's the one thing that you wouldn't be forgiven for. So it's a huge risk in the mind of someone who's completely indoctrinated.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like jumping off a building without a parachute and hoping that something will catch you.
Yeah. That's a really good analogy. Yeah, that's exactly what that feels like.
Did you fade or did you disassociate?
So one of the things that I had saw on Reddit is some people had written their disassociation letter and just because they wanted it to be done and over with. And then some people felt like they felt like the organization won in the end, because then they can use this as a legal thing sometime down the road, and they felt like the organization beat them. And again, because I don't, like, if I had a family, if I got kids, I would handle the situation completely different. But I'm single. I don't have any kids. I don't have any pets. I don't have any of it. So it's like, okay, now I'm gonna be a little bit cheeky back. So I just disappeared. I wanted to see what the action would be if I'm just gonna stop coming to meetings. Just gonna see. And I had elders reach out, and I told them that, hey, at this point, I don't know if this is the direction I want my life to go. My life is seemingly to be going in another direction. And then there's the word, well, maybe you should write those thoughts down.
They said that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe you should write those down. And by this point, I had gotten a copy of the Shepherd the Flock of God book. Right. And it's like, oh yeah, I got this book that you don't think that I've read. And I just, what? I don't think I want to write those down. I think I'm just going to let you know that I'm just kind of doing this right now. Yeah.
Wow, that's so sneaky.
Oh, it very much is.
They basically try to trick you into disassociating without realizing it.
Mm-hmm. And at least I think the copy that I had was the 2010. But anyway, it was that if someone's made it very clear and they're not writing a letter, the elders can write it for you. And it's like, okay, that's what I want you to do. Mm-hmm. That's what I want this to get to. I want you to get to a point where the elder body is going to write a letter for me in my stead, because I'm going to refuse to do it. The next thing that they did is they started working on my family. Mm-hmm. That going to my mother and telling my mother that, that he's going into some dangerous stuff, and we're trying to reach out to him, but we're not getting a hold of him, and we're really worried. And my mom is a bulldog. I absolutely love her to death. And she had the guts to look at the elder in the face and say that, hey, when he's ready, he'll come to you. leave him alone.
Mm.
And it was like, oh yeah, go mom, go
Yeah.
mom. But yeah, I haven't heard anything back from them, and that suits me fine. My goals are in an entirely different direction.
Mm. And
And
how long ago did all of this happen?
ooh, that's a good question. January of I gotta really think about that. January 2021.
Wow.
That's
So
when
very
that started.
recently.
Yeah, it hasn't been a long time. And again, I'm just one of those people. I'm either on or off. I'm in or out. I don't. Maybe that's an ADHD thing, but I don't like wasting time.
Hmm.
And if I love something and I enjoy it, it's like, okay, back out of the way because here I come, and I'm going to come at this at full force. But then when I'm done with it, it's the same thing. Like, okay, nope, deuces, I'm out. I can't hang with this. I'm out of
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
I did send a letter to the my adoptive father. I call him, and just to let him know that, hey, I know we can't talk, and I know that at this point you have to treat me as if I'm dead, but I want you to know that I was able to turn everything around, that I'm a supervisor for a medical clinic, and we're doing, like, things are going good over here. And he sent me a letter back, which I was not
Oh,
expecting.
wow.
Like, he sent me a letter back.
Yeah.
And his letter was just that he was saying that, oh yeah, I knew you'd be absolutely fine. I knew you'd be fine. And that I still have that letter tucked away. I can't look at it because then I will bawl my eyes out.
Mm.
But yeah, that is even with the two family members that I lost to the witnesses. He's the only one to where there are days where I stare out the window and wonder that this man is far smarter than me, so much smarter than I am. Do you know?
Mm.
Do you know? But because of where things are, and because of, like, he's married and he's got a couple grown up kids, like, do you feel that you're stuck? And then I have to push that down because it's like, nope, I don't
Yeah.
want to think about that. That's horror story stuff. That stuff keeps me staring at the ceiling at night. Like, I don't want to go into that too far.
Yeah. I'm sure there are a lot more PMOs in the organization than we will ever know.
And that I can't even imagine. I feel so privileged that I have the ability to go, nope, I'm done. See ya. I'm out.
Yeah.
And so many people do not have that. And that very specifically is what's welled up a desire in me. Like, I want to do something. I want to
Mm.
do activism or something. I've got to do something for, even if it's just entertainment, even if it's just stupid entertainment, just something for these poor people that are locked in this impossible situation.
Mm.
And
So tell us about that. Tell us about your YouTube channel.
yeah, so I had decided, how do I want to go about this? Should I do something? Should I not? And I started doing research. And when I was at the book reading stage of coming out, you have it's almost like the standard ExJW book list, right? You have Crisis of Conscience, you have Breaking the Bonds. Those were the first two that I read. I eventually read the Reluctant Apostate, but the Steve Hassan's Breaking the Bonds. That one was really cool because it came out with the BITE model, and I had no idea what the BITE model was. And that stands for behavior control, information control, thought control, and emotional control. And it has a bunch of bullet points that a high control group or a cult will engage in. And I had gone through it, and I was like, wow, my witnesses kind of hit like 98% of these. And I had to decided that, okay, I think I want to go. I think I'd like to do a YouTube channel. I think I'd like to do the ExJW YouTube channel thing. And I had come up with the name ExJW Rush. And very specifically, it's because I can say ExJW and Rush without stuttering. That is the only reason. Because I usually will have a very, very bad stutter. And that is the only reason why that name is. It doesn't mean anything, doesn't represent anything. It's just that I can say it fast and I don't stutter when I say it. That is the only reason for it. And I had decided that, you know what? I am going to go through all the steps in the BITE model and I'm going to start doing research. And actually, as I've done that research, it has gotten, some of the stuff that I have found has been even more intense. Like, oh, geez, I didn't know this. And I was in it for 12 years. Ugh, I wouldn't have said it like that at all. That's not a good way to say that. But yeah, so I wanted to do the YouTube thing, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. But whew, it takes a lot of work. Boy, it's really easy to sit and watch YouTube videos and think that, oh gosh, man, that doesn't take anything. I can do that in a weekend. Nope, not if you want to do a good studied one. It takes an entire week to get it ready, especially when you're working.
Absolutely. I found the same thing, came to exactly the same realization, and as you progress, you want to make better and better quality content, which means that it becomes more and more time consuming. But
Yeah.
I'm sure you'd agree it's worth the effort.
Yeah, it's filling up that spot where I want to give something. I don't care if one person sees it and I put all this work in and one person sees it. That doesn't matter. I just want that information out there, and hopefully it's a little bit entertaining too. Mm-hmm. But that's the whole goal, especially when you're in that spot. One of the things that I did when I'm listening to your videos and those kind of things, especially when you're in that, you feel so incredibly alone. You do. You feel so alone, and you can't talk to anyone. You can't talk, like, who are you going to talk to? Your friends? They're all witnesses, and they're supposed to go straight to the elders and tell them. And you can't talk to the elders because, you might lose everything anyway. So who do you talk to? And being able to listen to these videos, and I can't number the amount of times that I've pointed at my computer screen and go, yes, like that, yes.
I had a moment like that when I was watching one of Irregular Pioneers videos, and it was the one about funerals. Yes. He actually recorded it straight as he got home from a non-witness funeral, and he was talking about how different it was and how much better the whole thing was, compared to a witness funeral. And that really, really resonated with me. And I did exactly that. I was like, yes.
Yeah, it's and like I said, it makes you feel like there's someone there who's talking to you who gets it.
Yeah,
and that was really important. Like, before we had YouTube and those kind of things, it makes sense how it was harder for people to get out of the organization. And I think, and I know several other people have said it, but I think COVID was the big thing that really hit the Jehovah's Witness organization. Because then people had all this time, and
once they got off that hamster wheel and experienced a bit of freedom, it makes a world of difference.
100%.
Yeah, because the organization keeps people so busy, you literally don't have time to think,
which is the goal.
Exactly. That is the goal, for you to not think, for you to just do, not to think, just do.
Well, and if you have time to think and ponder and all of that, if you're not meditating on the information from the organization, then it needs to be dedicated to the preaching work.
Yeah.
And it's that guilt that I didn't realize, especially doing the series of videos I'm doing now. I didn't even realize how much the Jehovah's Witnesses rely on guilt, or the leadership. Let me not say that, because a lot of the Jehovah's Witnesses in general are amazing, caring people. that when they go and they're knocking on your door, they truly believe they are trying to save your life.
Yeah.
It's the leadership. The leadership is the issue.
Yeah. And I'm about 90% certain that they absolutely know that they're manipulative. They absolutely know that they fit the description of a cult, but they don't see themselves that way because they honestly believe that they are doing the right thing. So it's a case of the end justifying the means. They believe that they have Jehovah's backing. They believe that they're doing his work. So if we manipulate and guilt and shame people into doing what we want, then it's not so bad because we are the one true religion anyway. So it's justifiable.
And the more research that because I didn't want to believe that for the longest time. I wanted to believe that, okay, these people, they're just confused. They're confused, but they believe in the Bible, and they're trying to pull scriptural principles, and they're trying to follow the scriptural principles, and it's just like any other religion. And then when I'm looking in and seeing how specific things are twisted to mean things that's not what that was intended to mean. Why is that?
Yeah.
Why is that said like that? And it's like, okay, no. That was just like they're human. It's a human example. And then, same article, huh? Oh, I can't justify this one either. Let's try a different article. Let's go back 20 years. And they certainly didn't do that then. They did it worse then.
Yeah.
The language has gotten a lot nicer over the years, because that one's not very nice at all. And yeah, more and more it's the, do you guys know what you're doing? Because listening to you speak kind of sounds like you do.
It has been absolutely great speaking with you, Daniel. Thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation.
Yes, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. And I'll be sure to leave links to your YouTube channel in the description of this video so that other people can go there and subscribe.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for watching to the end. I really hope you enjoyed it as much as we both did. Please check the description for a link to Daniel's YouTube channel, ExJW Rush. Please go over there and show his channel some love. If you haven't already done so, please click the like button to get this video seen by as many people as possible. And also, please subscribe. When you do subscribe, please remember to click the notification bell so that you're alerted each time I post new content. Please proceed to the Jexit in an orderly fashion, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching to the very end of the video. If you haven't already done so, please like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. If you like my work and want to help me continue doing it, please support me on Patreon at patreon.com/Jexit_2020. And with that, I'd like to sincerely thank these very special patrons who make these videos possible.